Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful Sunday. Such a beautiful day here in Georgia. All right, just wanted to jump on real quick to introduce you guys to Josh Clark for U.S. Senate. I'm Chelsea, I'm his wife, and I have known this guy since I was 2 years old. So I've had a front row seat in his life well, for 38 years now. But we grew up together side by side, and it was just really neat. At 5, I got to, as a young girl, got to see his compassionate heart. But he also had a fighter heart. And so at 5 years old, I told him I was going to marry him. And he finally accepted that proposal. And now we've been married for 20 years. We have 6
Lucky
children.
me.
Yeah, no, I'm the lucky one. But we have 6 children and have built 2 successful businesses together. But I wanted to share just something that I've gotten experience firsthand. And that is I talked about his compassionate heart, the fighter heart he has, but this guy also has a spine of steel. And that is exactly what we need when we send somebody to Washington to fight for our family values that are under attack, our faith, our freedoms. And I got to see him go serve the great state of Georgia in the state house for 2 terms. And, he served honorably. For those of you that, know him, you know that he has an amazing record. He's going to share that with you. So his campaign positions are backed with his proven conservative track record. And so if you're looking for somebody who will go to Washington, who understands the issues, who knows how he has experience in legislation, and we're talking about this is a 6-year term. So we got to have somebody ready to go to work on day 1 that knows the issues and also understands the fight that we are up against right now. So without further ado, Josh Clark for U.S. Senate, love of my life.
Thank you, honey. Well, aren't I blessed, y'all? So grateful to have my wife with me on the campaign trail and our 6 children. If you go to votejosh.com, you'll see the whole family, and you'll even see the Liberty bus that we're crisscrossing the state of Georgia in. But tonight, instead of doing a live event in front of people in the bus, we're doing a virtual event, of course. So it's great to be with all of you across Georgia. And I know that you guys are sharing this with friends all across the country because so much is at stake. I know you're hearing about it, that this seat, pundits are saying this seat in Georgia is the most likely seat to flip if we have the right candidate that can win in November. And so how many of you are ready to take back this Senate seat, take back the Senate from the Democrats, from the one-party rule in Washington? We've got to stop Biden in his tracks. And so this seat is so crucial. So thank you so much for being here today, spending your valuable time. I want you to know right up front, if you heard there may be that there is a celebrity in the race, I want you to know that's not me. So I hope I don't disappoint you, but I am a patriot. And I believe that I'm a patriot just like all of you, for you to be spending your valuable time watching this so that you can, check out who are you voting for, who are you supporting, and how do we, regardless of where you are in the country, how can you may be asking, how can I help to take back the U.S. Senate? So thank you. You're a patriot, and we need your help because so much is riding on the line. I believe that as a nation, we're right there at this tipping point. And the question is, will we rise to the occasion as liberty-loving patriots and fight for the next generation, or will we just give in, give up, and let them take this over? And I'll tell you what, I'm not about to do that. If you're like me, you probably had sleepless nights in 2020 as you are watching our liberty and our freedom being ripped out from underneath our feet, as you're watching our First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion being taken away from us just like that. And you may have thought, like I did, am I living in America, or is this Venezuela? Is this Russia? Is this Iran? But it is happening right here in America. We watched these unconstitutional mandates coming down from the Biden administration. We were watching the big government getting in the way of doctors and their relationship with their patient, where doctors were literally afraid, as they were sharing with me, to advise their patients as they thought was best for them. And they're afraid to lose their medical license. And I couldn't believe this, again, was happening in America. We went out to California in 2020 to visit a dear friend of ours who's a pastor. And we watched as they were literally trying to shut down his church, finding him millions of dollars as he was reaching out to the homeless, as he was reaching out to those with mental health challenges, reaching out to all of us, to people like me who wanted fellowship and didn't want to forsake the assembling of ourselves together. And I was for, I'm sure like you, choice. Give people a choice. Do they want to watch it online, or do they feel like they need that fellowship? They need to be in person. But government was mandating and controlling our lives. And that's when I was reminded of Reagan's words. President Reagan, who we named our youngest daughter after, said, freedom is only one generation from extinction. It's not passed in the bloodstream. It's got to be fought for and defended, or else we'll be explaining to our children what it was like when men were free. We're watching this happen right now with family values. We're watching them indoctrinating our children. Y'all, I'm going to fight against that by God's grace. That's why I'm in this race. We've got to fight we need people in DC that aren't concerned about the next election, but are rather concerned about the next generation. So it's with all of these concerns just heavy on my heart, probably like you, that in 2020, I was one particular night was just sleepless night on my knees in the closet, so I didn't wake Chelsea up, just praying for our country, praying for our leaders, when I heard God speak to me. And it was very interesting because earlier in the year, somebody had asked me, hey, why don't you run for Congress? Your seat's open. I said, I have no interest. I have served in the past, as Chelsea mentioned. I served as a state legislator. I served a couple terms, and then I walked away unopposed because I believe that public service should be a season and not a lifetime career. So I had served. I felt like I did my duty. But what God just spoke to me that night was, it was the craziest thing, but it's like a switch flip. My heart changed. And when Chelsea woke up, I said, honey, I believe God's calling me back to public service. I said, I don't know when, but I believe it's the US Senate. And I said, I hope it's a long time from now. But I had this eerie feeling that something was happening that I didn't understand. And the next week, Trump lost. Both of our US senators went into runoffs. They lost. And then I was challenged. Are you running in 2 years or are you running in 6? And I said, I'm not running now. The world's too crazy. I need time. I thought I needed time to finish up my plans for the next 5 years. And then I could be obedient, step up and serve my country again. But you know what? Everything ended up changing. 8 months later, I realized and felt just strongly convicted that I was trying to be obedient in my own way. And that as a Romanian challenged me as I walked off the football field, he said, Josh, we're not even promised tomorrow. I don't know if this country will even last, 6 years. Because he asked me, he said, when are you going to run for office? Just out of the blue as I walked past him. I'm like, who is this guy? Why is he challenging me? And he said to me, I'm challenging you to quit your job. You can still feed your family and go serve your country. And I later on said to him, well, why don't you do that? But anyway, we'll come back to this story later. I want to take you back a little ways because I'm applying to work for you, to serve you. I want to be known not as Senator Clark, but I want to be known as Servant Josh, because we need somebody in DC that's serving us and not special interest. And here's where my journey kind of began. A little bit of my background just quickly. So you understand who I am as I apply again to serve you. So I grew up in Suwanee, Georgia, a little rural community at the time on a small farm. I was am the oldest of 10 children. My father is a pastor of a very small church. So we were very poor. In fact, I like to say we were poor, the poor talked about. But my mother was a teacher who decided to homeschool us. And I was incredibly blessed to learn American family values. You know what I'm talking about? Hard work, faith in God, and serving others. In fact, I learned to serve at an early age out of necessity. My mother lost her health due to missing organs, a kidney, spleen, and adrenal. And so as the oldest, what do you think was incumbent upon me? I had to step up. But don't feel sorry for me. I wish my mother didn't have to suffer, but honestly, it was good for me. It taught me that life was not about me, that life was about contributing, overcoming together, and hence our slogan, overcome together. Being homeschooled, I loved learning about history, our founding fathers, learning about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the biblical principles that were woven into the fabric of this country. My father asked me to contribute my earnings from a business that I started when I was 18 to help them buy their first home. I did that up until 20. And again, not unusual, really. In some ways it is, but many people have experienced the same thing. And generations of Americans have had to step up and contribute just to overcome the challenges as a family. And now we're facing challenges as a big family, as an American family. We're facing challenges that I think are put us, again, as I said earlier, at this tipping point. Will we step up and overcome? Now, when I got out of high school, I talk about being the proven conservative. What do I mean by that? Well, right out of high school, or shortly after high school, I got involved in volunteering, rolling up my sleeves to help get constitutional conservatives that, as far as I could tell, godly men and women who were called to serve. I wanted to just step up and serve them, volunteer while I was building companies. And so I learned a lot through that. And I never thought that I would be in public office myself. I thought I'd support them. I felt like it was our civic duty. And there was a verse that was really heavy on my heart. At that age, I would have told you this, that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. I believe we're doing a lot of mourning in America today, aren't we? As we watch the evil, the battle between good and evil in this country. And make no mistake, it is a battle. And we need somebody who's going to step up, recognize that, and is willing to fight for the next generation. And that's me. Well, fast forwarding, at 30 years old, I was challenged by a friend that I served on the board of a Spanish Bible college with. And he challenged me to consider running for office myself. I said, give me a month to think about it and pray about it. And halfway through, I said no. And it was a selfish no, because we just had our best month in business. Things were going great, much like they were here last year when felt God urging me again to step up. But anyway, the long story is we ended up stepping up, and I ran a year-long campaign against somebody that the AJC said would be the next governor. And by God's grace, we didn't just win, we won in a landslide. We won 70-30. We had a great team, God's favor, and I got a chance to go down and serve our state. And again, this is where the proven conservative comes in, because there's a lot of nice people running for this seat. There's a lot of people through the years that I've witnessed, I know you have too, that say all the right things. Some of my opponents were former Democrats, were voting Democrat while I was in the trenches. Now, they may be a great conservative. The challenge is we don't really know. And here's what we've learned. We've learned that just because you're military, and I have 13 immediate family members in our family, 4 brothers who served on the front lines of Afghanistan. And so we're a huge military family. But I've learned this, just because you're military doesn't necessarily mean you're conservative. Look at John McCain. We still have Obamacare thanks to him. And so this is where I think that my record of service, I think is one that is worth taking a look at and mentioning. I earned the Defender of Liberty Award for my conservative voting record. I was proud to be involved with helping pass the fetal pain bill. At that time, Georgia was the top 5 states for abortion. I, as a businessman who's built 2 companies in my 20s that are still around today, I traveled the state listening to business owners, farmers, listening to the red tape, the regulations that were standing in the way of them trying to succeed, and helping remove those barriers. And I was proud to be a part of a team that when I left office, we were recognized as being the #1 state to do business in the nation. So I was also known as a budget hawk. I'm a strong fiscal conservative. I'm one of those that I will not walk past a penny without stooping down to pick it up. And I've been doing that since I was a teenager. And I think that's important because right now we have 31 trillion and climbing. We're literally stealing from our children's children. And we're at that point where we're going to lose this entire country if we keep on this reckless spending path. We've got open borders. We've got the #1 cause of death, 18 to 45-year-old, is drug overdoses. Much of that is fentanyl coming across the southern border. Much of that is coming from China. Y'all, this is premeditated. They know exactly what they're doing. I could go into this so much further, but we have to stand up. We have to bring Washington, D.C. to a halt and say, you know what? We're not doing anything else until we secure our borders, because you cannot have national security. You cannot have an independent, free, prosperous, secure nation without secure borders. It just won't happen. We're losing it quickly. The Obama administration just recently announced that they're going to repeal Title 42, which that means experts are saying we may have 18,000 people crossing the border per day, a half million a month. We're on a dangerous, dangerous path. We need somebody who doesn't just say the right thing, but has a record of standing up. In fact, that's one of the things I campaigned on 12 years ago. We passed HB 87. It was the most comprehensive immigration, anti-illegal immigration bill in the nation at that time. But with so many issues now, folks, and again, family values that are literally under attack. Well, again, back to my previous track record of service. I served and then I left. I left because I believe public service should be a season and not this lifetime career. I left unopposed. I went back to private life. For the past 8 years, I've been serving as a executive vice president for an international company called Neolife. And then last year, I walked away from all that, resigned my position, helped. We found a replacement. He's doing a great job, and I walked away. Because I believe that God's calling me to step up and serve our country for a season. I say a season because I signed a term limit pledge. I also sold all my stocks. My wife and I have made a pledge that we will not trade stocks while I'm in office. Why? You know why. Because we're sick and tired of seeing people go to DC and all they do is enrich themselves. They come out richer when it should be a sacrifice. It should be about serving and fighting to secure the blessings of liberty for the next generation. I'm going to do that. I have a record of doing it. I'll do it once again. Folks, I want to share with you a story. Now, and it's going to bring a little humor to a serious topic as we close this out, because I know we're talking about serious issues. We're talking about issues that put our country, our children's future in jeopardy and have to be fixed right away before it's too late. So I want to share this with you, though. A little humor that packs a punch. There was a U.S. senator who was on his way to a town hall. He got run over by a Mack truck. It wasn't, by the way, the Liberty bus. If you check out our Facebook, you'll see the Liberty bus that we travel in across the state that my wife drives. She's a great driver. But back to the story. This was a Mack truck got run over and appeared before the pearly gates. And St. Peter was there and said, well, do you want to go to heaven or do you want to go to hell? And he said, well, I always hoped I'd make it to heaven. He said, well, here's how it works. You got to spend a day in heaven, a day in hell, and then you make your decision. So he goes down, the doors open, and to his delight, it's a beautiful golf course. His friends are off in the distance teeing up. He has a wonderful day, and now it's time to go to heaven. So he's out in the clouds with the saints, worshiping the Lord, and then the angel comes to him and says, okay, now it's time to make a decision for all of eternity. Where do you want to go? He said, well, I never thought I'd say this, but seeing as that most of my friends are down there in hell, I think I'll choose hell. And he said, okay. So he goes down, the doors open, and now to his horror, he sees that his friends are in torment. They're on fire. It's a desert land. And he feels like he's been lied to and deceived. I'm sure you've been there before where you felt that way, right? We feel like our politicians are lying and deceiving us. And so he goes to the devil and he says, I don't understand. The devil says, well, that's easy to explain. Yesterday we were campaigning and today you voted. Folks, it's humorous, but it's serious. I need to ask for your help. There's too much writing on this to just roll the dice on a celebrity. And I'm just going to quickly say, and I won't say anything about him that I haven't said to him, to his face, because I believe in that. Don't say anything behind somebody's back you won't say to him. And I told him, I said, Herschel, you're a childhood hero of mine. Seriously, I'd run through plowed fields as a child, pretending I was Herschel. I would ask Dad for workout equipment. Dad said, well, Herschel just does push-ups, do push-ups. I never ended up, though, quite like him, big and strong like him and fast. But I always looked up to him in a huge way. And for him to be in this race, I had to really hear God speaking to me clearly and know that I had to jump into this. But here's how I feel. And this is backed up by facts. He cannot win in November. If you've read his book and the gory, violent details in the book, I'm not going to go into it. I believe in forgiveness. I believe in redemption. I believe people can change. But here's the reality. The Democrats aren't going to forgive him. And these three destructive personalities that he describes there's been relapses and more stories out there and all kinds of stuff. And so the question is not, do I like him? The question is, who can win in November? Who will fight for the next generation? And that's why I believe we have to win this and why I need your help. I need your help. I need to ask you to pray for us. I need to ask you to volunteer, to make the phone bank, make phone calls. We are so close to winning this thing. Herschel is falling quickly. In fact, he is close to, he's in the 50s now. And the trend is what I'm looking at more than anything. He's been trending down, down, down. And he's going to be under 50, which will throw this thing into a runoff. And we believe we can get in this runoff with him. And historically speaking in Georgia, the second place, which is where we want to be. In fact, in the poll after the last debate, we were in second place. We get into second place. I know, I'm confident with God's blessings, with the amazing team we have crisscrossing the state of Georgia, all volunteers, patriots who are sacrificing because they know what's at stake. With their help, we're going to win this thing. And we're going to take back the Senate, and you're going to have a proven conservative fighting for you in the next generation. I also need to ask you to consider giving. We're fueling this Liberty bus, and it's not cheap to fuel, even though it's saving us on lodging and food. And it's amazing, gigantic, bigger than a billboard, this 45-foot bus, but it takes a lot of fuel. We need help raising money right now for the next message to go out, for our social media messaging. We've got 4 more weeks and we need your help. So you come on board, will you join this movement that's growing by the day, and together we will win, and we'll win for the next generation. I want to leave you with this. There was a note found in the pocket of a World War I soldier, and I'll never forget this. He said, America must win this war. Folks, you know it, I know it, we're at war right now. And let me pause for a second to just illustrate that further. You know about Governor DeSantis and what he's doing down in Florida and the fight that he's waging. There is a fight for the next generation, and the liberals are radical liberals who want to indoctrinate our children. I was just reading about the gingerbread man curriculum the other day, and they were talking about how they have to reach these young children, preferably by the 3rd grade, in order to cause gender confusion. They were talking about how their gender is set by the 3rd grade. Y'all, this is premeditative. They know exactly what they're doing. And we've got to fight back, and we've got to be willing to risk everything, which is the same thing I told my wife and I shared with our children when we sat down and prayed about this. Well, actually, I should back up. We prayed, we fasted, so much had already occurred. Then we met with our family, and we said, this is what's at stake. Our founding fathers signed off on the Declaration of Independence, pledging their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And so back to the pledge found in the pocket of the World War I soldier. It said, America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will sacrifice, I will save, I will endure. I will give my utmost as if the issue of the whole depended upon me and me alone. Folks, that is the kind of conviction, determination, and steel spine that I will take to the U.S. Senate. I've been tested. I've had leadership call me up when I was a former state legislator, when they were trying to pass Obamacare and implement it in the state of Georgia. And I said, I cannot do that. It's against what I campaigned on. And I'll never forget the leadership calling me up and saying, who do you think you are? Off the floor to the rostrum. Who do you think you are? The tail wagging the dog. You need me to get elected, they said. And I said to them, this is exactly what I said. I said, Mr. Leader, in all due respect, I said, when I go home at night and my children are asleep, it was actually Mr. Speaker, but Mr. Speaker, when I go home and my kids are asleep, I need to know that I fought for the next generation. When I lay my head on the pillow, I need to have a clear conscience between me and God. And then after that, I try to be a team player where I can. I told you up front where I stood. But yes, when I'm against something, I will work hard to kill it. When I'm for something, I will work hard to make sure and educate and get people on board to do what's right for Georgia, for America, for the next generation. And I'll remember my brother's words from Afghanistan. A 23-year-old Army Ranger called me up when I was running. He said, Josh, what you're doing is just as important as what I'm doing. Because if we lose this country from within, he said that my comrade who lost his life is in vain. His second week over there, he was supposed to be in the gunner position. And instead, the sergeant said, I'll take it. And he lost his life. That's the kind of seriousness that we have to take public service. It's not a game. It's not about enrichment. It's not about advancing yourself. We are at a point where we need fighters, and that's who I am. So by God's grace, I look forward to fighting for you in the next generation, serving you. We need your help. Please join the team. Please spread the word. Tag your friends in this. Share the message. Together, we will win. Take back America and for the next generation. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless America. Please go to votejosh.com, like our social media, share it, and together. Oh, and don't forget to click on the AR-15. We're giving one away every week. So you know where I stand on the Second Amendment. It's clear. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.